Welcome to Outside of Eden, the podcast. I am Brianna, your host for this podcast. And man, today feels so weird. Like, I don't know, it's raining. We're getting like these tornado watches. I don't know where you guys are, but it will not distract me from my assignments, okay? But I hope you guys are doing spiritually well because my pastor, I love that he said this. He's like, how you're doing spiritually is how you're doing. And I love that because I'm like, dude, yes. Because the spiritual aspect affects everything else. Like it affects everything else. Like whether or not you're being fed spiritually and if you're in good standing spiritually is going to affect your capacity to deal with people. It's going to affect your capacity to be there for yourself, for others. It's going to affect your capacity to intake information, to receive. So if you're not in a good space spiritually, you can't really receive what others may be trying to say to you or receive whatever the Lord is trying to say to you. And I feel like it's also harder for you to be more mindful of your health, both mental and physical. So getting to the gym, eating good. Like I feel like I am one of those people that indulges a little more in junk food when I'm not in good spiritual standing. So yeah, man, like, dude, even having this pod, like I want you guys to understand that this is not just a conversation for y'all. This is a conversation for us. It's for me as well. And dude, as I'm sitting here right now, I'm getting this revelation that we really need to be like more aware of the things that starts to happen to us when we're not doing good spiritually. So like the fact that I just now was able to identify, oh my gosh, like I start indulging in junk food more when I'm not in good spiritual standing. Dude, like I sleep more when I'm not in good spiritual standing. I am less patient with people when I'm not in good spiritual standing. So when I'm not making sure that my spiritual part of me is good, which involves me, taking time for myself, me and the Lord, speaking to him about whatever it is that I'm going through, praying, involving myself in worship, involving myself in reading the word, the things that I need to do in order to fill my spiritual cup, making sure that I'm going to church, because that's where you receive a word, you receive mentorship. So that is so powerful for the filling of our spiritual cup. And at church, you also worship. So being able to worship and be in community with other people who also believe is going to help in filling up that spiritual cup. So I do believe that man, it's crazy because when we can start identifying when we're getting low spiritually, we can start really just making a change as to doing what's best for us. And I even start to like withdraw socially, like when I'm not in good spiritual standing. Like I realize that like I'm not like I can't be there for other people if I'm not, And so, man, now that I'm saying that, like if I can identify that for myself, I can identify that for other people. So I may need to start having more grace on people that just be like randomly disappearing. Cause I'm like, dude, that's so weird. Like when people randomly disappear or they just drop off the planet Earth and you're like, are you okay? Like this is not normal activity for you. Like, are you mad at me? Why are you being weird? Like, and y'all, it could really be that they're not in good spiritual standing right now. So it's going to be hard for them to be there for us if they can't even be there for themselves. And if they're not even spiritually all together for themselves. So y'all, I want y'all to have grace for me when I may take a period, and I'll announce it as well if I need some space to kind of recoup. I try to stay on top of it as much as I can as far as my spiritual cup is concerned. But if I just start to get into a space where I am overwhelmed, I am going to let you guys know. But I want you guys to just have that grace for me because I'm going to have the grace for you guys when you may not be in a space to kind of hear what I have to say or hear what the Lord is trying to say through me. So, I'm going to have that same grace for you guys, and I'm not going to judge. This is not that space. This is a safe space. Okay. You guys, I've told you guys a lot of vulnerable things, and even today we're going to get into some stuff. Okay? Because what's so crazy, we're speaking about the spiritual cup. I really wanted to get into this term soul ties, because I feel like it's like just like this really popular thing that the new age teachings and practices have coined and got us to understanding that there's like this bond between two people that causes them to have an intertwining where they start to affect each other physically, emotionally, where they're like tied together by soul until they break the soul tie. Well, I want y'all to know that is not biblically backed up at all. Like the Bible does not specifically say soul ties. So this is a new age way of looking at things. I do believe anytime you have something that is a new age teaching, it is something that is trying to get you to think on your own without and consulting God or implementing God to making sense of the thing, right? So we have the Bible because it'll give us the answers to almost anything we have questions about in this life. I promise you, every single thing. Like it's wild, like everything, like war, trauma, friendships, family trauma, favoritism, love, abandonment, loss. Like the Bible will literally help us understand everything that we are trying to boggle our minds around. And I feel like the effects that people have on us is just one of those things where we are always trying to understand why and how people affect us. And so, soul ties, that term is just a term to get you to try to understand things or that specific thing without God. So it's like a self-help way of thinking. Anything new age is a self-help way of thinking. It is a way to get you to depend on yourself for understanding, when the intent that the Lord had for us was to depend on Him for understanding. So now with the Bible, the way the Bible explains the becoming of one flesh of two people is in the Garden of Eden, where Adam is put to sleep and the Lord takes part of his rib and He creates Eve. And when Adam awakes from his sleep and sees that his wife is present, he's like, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. This woman is a part of me. She literally has part of me inside of her. And so when we're involving ourselves in sexual acts, okay, when we are literally becoming one flesh. And this is why in biblical days, when someone would have sex with someone, that person essentially became your wife, because this is someone that you have decided, you've made a decision to become one flesh with this person. So the body houses our spirit. Essentially, we are a spirit. It houses our spirit. That's why the Bible tells us that the body is a temple, because the body gives us the ability to have world consciousness. It gives us the ability to live in the existence that we currently live in. If we were to lose our body, we would lose world consciousness. Okay. And all of this, most of the stuff that I learned, like about like the body, the psyche, the mind, the soul, the spirit, a lot of these specific things I've learned to understand through TD Jakes. And I know a lot is going on with TD Jakes right now. And I know that things are being come to light concerning him. But I do believe that that he has been used by the Lord. I do believe that the Lord has called him. And even people who have been called can make bad decisions. And even people who have been called can still sin. And even people who have been called can still be tempted. Just because they are living for the Lord does not mean that they may not fall into temptation. We are still in the flesh, we are still in the body. And I am not making excuses for his behavior, but I'm helping us to understand, because we live in a world that is so cancel culture, and we live in a world that is so very unforgiving of human beings. Like a pastor can do something, and after that, people just cannot see past it. People cannot forgive them. But I want to tell you this: the Lord forgives, and he throws our sins and he throws the things that we do on this earth into a sea, and he forgets. The Lord forgets. Human beings, we are in the flesh, so we are not God. So we don't easily forgive like the Lord does. But the Lord instructed us to forgive 77 times over. So I forgive TD Jakes for anything that he has done, because I am not someone who holds things that people do and can't see past it. Because if the Lord can forgive, I can also forgive. And I can understand that that person is human, and that they will make mistakes, and that they may be tempted, and that they may fall short. Even the chosen can fall short. I promise you. I promise you, you won't live another day in this life without falling short again. But it's okay, because all you have to do is literally go to the Lord and repent for falling short, and repent where you've been wrong. And there's so much understanding that comes out of falling short. The Lord knows that we're gonna make mistakes. Like, he knows, dude. We're just I don't know. I don't know. It really bothers me. Like, just not even just like the TD Jakes situation, like Chris Brown as well. Like, I feel like after the situation with Rihanna, like the world just would not forgive him. You know, it's like, dude, he's human. And dude, he was being tempted by Rihanna. I love Rihanna. And when he explained his story, I love that, because when he explained what actually happened, I mean, it just made me realize, like, wow, like, dude, yes, like, he's a human. Like, he's not going to be perfect. And we don't know what trauma he experienced as a child that caused him to react the way he did. You don't have any idea what trauma this man has gone through that has caused him to respond. And that does not excuse any behavior. But it brings light to the fact that we have to remind ourselves that we are all human. And that same grace, like if you were to put the shoes on of that person, you would want to receive the same grace. Like you just would want grace for your story. And that's all I'm saying. That's my piece on that. But man, okay. So let's get back to what I wanted to speak about the body. Now, the body houses our spirit. Okay. Then you have the soul. The soul is where all of our memories are stored, our emotions, our feelings, our tragedies, our adversities, our positivities, our negativities, our associations. So when things happen to us, it is stored in our soul and it becomes a part of us. And that's why people can say, like, they say things like, oh, like they feel like they've lost part of themselves or lost part of their soul. It's like somewhere in between your story, something has happened that has caused your soul to store whatever has happened, and now it has affected you in a way that you show up different in the world. Okay, so the soul is going to store all of these things. The body basically physically tells us what happens to us. So through our scars and through when we have pimples, it may be telling us that we are stressed or we are experiencing hormonal imbalances. Like, the body is going to show us physically what is happening to us in the spiritual. Okay. So that's why we have both physical wounds and we have spiritual wounds. The spiritual wounds are the ones that we can't see, are the ones that we may forget about because we think, oh, like, because I can't see it physically, I don't know that this is what I'm battling with spiritually, or something that I thought I got over, but I didn't. And so the physical can literally show you scars that have healed, but you still have that memory. You may still be able to see and be invited back into that part of your life simply because you still have that wound on your body. Okay. And so, the light is shining. It's like coming and going, coming and going. I love the Lord. Because it was raining so bad this morning. And I was like, dude, okay, well, let me get back on track. Okay. So everything that we do in the body is going to affect our soul. It's going to affect our psyche. It's going to affect our mind. So when we involve ourselves in sexual matters, when we involve ourselves in friendships where your body is involved, and the reason I say that your body is involved in friendships is because it requires that your body is present where your friend is. It requires that you are using your mouth. You can see your friend. So it still requires aspects of your body, your brain. When you're using your brain to speak, when you're using your brain to think about this person, when your body is involved, it also involves your soul. And then it will begin to affect your spirit. And so that's why when you withdraw yourself from a person physically, then you can begin to withdraw yourself mentally. Dude, that's wild, because I think that's what people say, out of sight, out of mind. Oh my gosh, I finally understood that term completely right now in this moment. That's why people say that, out of sight, out of mind. Because when you withdraw the sight of seeing someone, of hearing someone, of speaking to someone, of touching someone, of being involved with someone physically, you can essentially withdraw yourself from the effects that it has on your mind. Because remember, your soul is going to be your mind, your will, and your emotions. So that's why when we involve ourselves physically with someone, dude, we're thinking about them all the time. Our body wants to be where their body is. Where are you? I want to see you. Can I see you later? Like, and then you go into this cycle of your body and your mind wanting to be with that person again and again and again, until a consequence has presented itself, right? Because anytime that we are involving ourselves in sexual matters with a person, or physically with a person, where it is not God ordained, which means God did not ordain that relationship, that bond, those two to be one flesh, then the consequences of the thing will show up. Because here's the thing, Adam and Eve were ordained. The Lord himself created Eve out of Adam. The Lord himself. If two things weren't ordained, it definitely was Adam and Eve. And then that's another thing that's what's so crazy, is that let's go back into the fact that if it's not God ordained, we can have the consequences of pregnancy popping up where a child is born. And yes, children are blessings. But if it wasn't the will of the Lord for that child to be born to those two people, then consequences occur. You may have turmoil in the relationship. You may have the consequence where there's this friction between mom and dad. They can't get it together. They can't get the co-parenting together. They're going back into the cycle of having sex when they know they shouldn't be. They're having trouble with the child. The child is acting out. There are these consequences. Then there may be the consequences of sexually transmitted diseases. And then there is the consequence of the other person having your mind. So then it's like when your mind should be focused on the Lord, or your mind should be focused on something totally different, your mind is more focused on this person that you're currently having sex with. You can't help it, dude. You can't help it, because you have become one flesh with this person. You've made the decision to become one flesh with this person. Dude, that's wild. So like, I remember too, dude, the person's gonna start affecting your decisions, not even just your mind, your decisions, like the actions you take. Like, have y'all ever had a situation where like you had a friend that you were really close to? Because I have, where you have a friend where you were really close to them, and then they start dating someone, and then they just like disappear, like from planet Earth. Like you don't even, like, you talk to them less, you don't even see them anymore. Like, dude, when they have become a flesh with another person, this person is going, their body wants to go where that person is, their mind wants to go where that person is, their emotions is where that person is. And that's why I think that's why the Bible makes it so like they're like, that is literally like why the Lord tells us not to commit adultery. Dude, he don't be telling us stuff for nothing. Like he be trying to help us. He be trying to save us from pain. Dude, I promise you, every person that I've ever had sex with and I've decided to stop having sex with, or they've decided to stop having sex, whatever the case may have been, where we broke that bond of sexual encounters, I promise you, I incurred pain. I incurred pain, emotional pain, where I'm thinking about this person. I even feel it like physically. Like I feel it physically in my heart. Like my heart has a little bit of like a strain, like a little pain, because like I feel it. And it's like, then it's like, because you don't want to feel the pain anymore, you're like tempted to go back to that person and restore, quote unquote, order, but really it's just a cycle of dysfunction. It's just a cycle of putting you back into the realm of sin again. Because I feel like whenever we have a person that is giving us feel-good hormones, which is dopamine, because dopamine is released when you have sexual encounters with another person, you have a physical intimacy with another person, you can become addicted to this sort of source of dopamine. And that's what keeps us going back into this roller coaster of a thing with a person. Or we'll stop talking, and then we'll talk, and we'll get into it, and then and it's so dysfunctional and toxic. Dude, and it's affecting us. Dude, they affect us. They're affecting how we feel. They affect whether we're going out that night or if we're going to be with them. They're affecting if we're going to read that night or if we're going to be Netflix and chilling with this person. They're going to affect everything. And what's so crazy about this is why the Lord warns us against committing adultery, is because the effects don't stop because we stop talking to that person. You're going to go through the period of withdrawal. You're going to have withdrawals. Yeah. And it's a part of the process. You're going to have pain. You're still, even years after having interactions with this person, there's still, something's going to come up where you're reminded of this person, and then there's no taking that back. You have already become one flesh with that person. You have made a decision to or we, because I've done it too. When I say you, I don't know. I say you randomly. It's not to just be like, yo. You You guys know what I mean. You've made this decision to become one flesh with this person. And becoming one flesh with a person is so powerful. And that's why when I was speaking in the episode and I was talking about how who we choose for our spouse is going to be one of the most powerful decisions that we ever make. Like, that's what I mean, dude. Because everything that my body partakes in is going to affect my soul. It's going to affect my psyche, my mind. So when my body partakes in exercise, it's affecting how I view myself physically. It's affecting how I feel physically. It's affecting how I feel mentally. When my body partakes in alcohol, that alcohol hit my body, my inhibitions are lowered. I'm careless. I'm more likely to make the decisions that I probably wouldn't have made if I was sober. Okay? My mind is different. Now I'm thinking about the last person that gave me dopamine. Because here's the thing, alcohol is actually I think alcohol is a downer. It's and I'm going to verify that. Alcohol. Yeah, this is why alcohol is so dangerous, y'all. Alcohol is dangerous. Oh, alcohol is a depressant. So depressants are downers. And for some people, it's very, different alcohols can affect your body differently. Everyone is just so different the way they react to different alcohols. Some people become angry and some people become just super sweet and kind and loving. People are just different based on what they're drinking. But essentially, alcohol is a depressant. And so that's why I feel like we are more likely to involve ourselves in certain decisions that we shouldn't be involving ourselves in, because we have the influence of the alcohol. Whatever my body is partaking in, it's going to affect my psyche and my soul. So if my body is partaking in eating bad, that's why the crash is so real. Like the sugar crash, when they talk about like eating sugar and you feel like a hit of energy and a hit of dopamine and happiness, and then slowly you just start to crash. And then I feel sluggish, and then I feel like crap, and then I feel like I want to take a nap. Whatever my body partakes in is going to start affecting me, dude. It's wild. So another effect or a consequence of becoming one flesh with a person that is not God ordained, you start having the consequences of selfishness. So either whether that's on your end or the other person's end, there is selfishness, their insecurities can start happening, poor decisions. You'll start to see the effects of more pain being inflicted between the two. Then you have like this lack of wanting to serve one another. So because the intent, whenever you become one flesh with the person, essentially that person is supposed to be you are supposed to be in marriage with this person. And so in marriage you have this dynamic where you are supposed to serve one another, and you're supposed to serve one another selflessly, and your body is no longer yours. It belongs to your spouse. You are one flesh. So your money is not just yours. It is both of you. It is our money. We are one. There's no more separate entities, individuality. We have become one flesh. So there's a lot that can be affected, So yeah, that's that. We got into the intertwining of the flesh and its effects. I love you guys. I just want you guys to know that. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I will see you in the next episode.